Am I wrong for entering an extreme survival challenge my friend wanted to keep to herself? I, 30F, have always been a fitness enthusiast, but after a serious knee injury put me out of commission for months, I found myself itching for something to reignite that fire in me. My first love is rock climbing, but since that was off limits until after surgery, I searched for something else that could give me the adrenaline rush I craved. That's when I came across an ad for the Iron Clash Survival Challenge, an intense, multi-day obstacle course designed to push participants to their absolute physical and mental limits. I was immediately hooked. The challenge combined elements of CrossFit, endurance races, and tactical survival skills like fire building and navigating harsh terrains. My friend Kara, 31F, had been talking about this exact event for months. CrossFit is her passion, and she thrives on challenges that test her mental fortitude. When I mentioned I might sign up, she seemed excited at first, like we'd be two warriors heading into battle together. But that excitement shifted quickly once I actually committed. Here's the thing, I wasn't even sure I could participate. My knee surgery was looming, and I hadn't trained for anything that extreme since my injury. But this challenge wasn't just about competing, it was about proving to myself that I still had what it took. I'd been sidelined for so long, and I wanted to prove to myself that I wasn't broken. I found a last-minute slot in the challenge and signed up. When I told Kara, I expected her to be pumped that we'd be doing it together. Instead, she looked like I'd just stabbed her in the back. "Why didn't you talk to me before signing up? This was supposed to be my thing," she said, her face flushed with anger. I didn't understand her reaction. "I thought it'd be fun if we did it together. You know, motivate each other." She crossed her arms. "Fun for you, maybe. But I've been training for this for months, and now it feels like you're just swooping in to steal my thunder. This was supposed to be my big achievement." I was taken aback. It wasn't like I'd done anything wrong by joining a public event. I thought we could bond over it, but she saw my involvement as a threat. What started as a tense conversation spiraled into a full-blown argument. She accused me of being competitive, of trying to overshadow her. I had no idea she saw it that way, especially when I was doing this challenge for me, to reclaim my confidence before my surgery. The day of the Iron Clash Survival Challenge finally arrived, and the atmosphere at the starting line was electric. Hundreds of participants, all at the peak of fitness, ready to endure a brutal, grueling course over 2 days. Kara had barely spoken to me in the days leading up to the event. We agreed to start together, but the tension between us was palpable. As we crossed the first series of obstacles, climbing ropes, leaping over trenches, and crawling under barbed wire, I noticed Kara falling behind. By the time we hit the third checkpoint, she was winded. I slowed down, waiting for her to catch up, but the look on her face told me she wasn't interested in my support. "I don't need your pity," she muttered, pushing ahead stubbornly. I tried to ignore it and focused on my own race. But by the time we reached the survival segment where we had to navigate a dense forest, build a fire, and purify water, she was far behind. I sent her a couple of texts, trying to check in, but she didn't reply. I figured she needed space, so I pushed on, determined to finish strong. This was about me now, about proving that I could do this despite my injury. Night fell, and we were required to camp in the wilderness as part of the challenge. Alone in the dark, with the distant howls of animals and the cold biting at my skin, I couldn't help but wonder how Kara was doing. But this was part of the challenge: solitude, endurance, survival. I was up early the next morning, making good progress, when I received a text from Kara: "I'm 3 checkpoints behind you. Wait for me." I hesitated. She was far behind, and I'd come so far. Every muscle in my body screamed from the effort, and I could feel the strain on my injured knee starting to build. I texted back, telling her I couldn't wait, I had to finish this. This was my race now. Her response was immediate and sharp: "You're a selfish friend." I felt a pang of guilt, but I pressed on, pushing through the final obstacles. As I neared the finish line, I heard whispers from other participants about someone cutting through parts of the course. My stomach dropped as I saw Kara sprinting ahead, somehow miraculously in front of me. She crossed the finish line first, having taken shortcuts to make up time. I could hardly believe it. After everything, she'd cheated her way to the end just to be ahead of me. I finished not long after, exhausted but proud of myself for doing it the right way. I completed the challenge in 27 hours, slower than I'd hoped but without giving up. At the end, Kara barely spoke to me. She didn't seem to care that she'd cheated, she only cared that she'd crossed first. I didn't confront her, I was too tired to argue, and honestly, I was proud of myself for finishing despite the odds. But her words still echoed in my head. After the race, she cut me off completely. She told me she felt betrayed and said that she wouldn't be there for my knee surgery as she had originally promised. She insisted that CrossFit and survival challenges were her thing and that I was no longer welcome in that part of her life. I'm left wondering if I really did overstep. Was I wrong to push forward and finish the race without her? Or was she holding on to something that wasn't hers to control? Am I wrong for entering a survival challenge that my friend wanted to keep for herself, even though it was something I needed for my own sense of accomplishment?